How we doing? We've got a long video ahead, my friends. A very long video ahead. One that I am very excited for. More specifically, there we go. And YouTube chat is up and working too. Let's go. I'll put you guys right over John, where John is going to be sitting. I need my video capture to be above all. So I'll put chat behind there. There we go. We got YouTube chat working. We got everything else working. Let's go, finally. All right. So fair warning. If you guys have never watched a true reaction streamer before, like Hasanabi, literally anybody that watches long form content, Ludwig, for example, you need, when you watch videos like this, you need to be able to pause certain ways through to make sure that you vet out what your thoughts are, like kind of predict things ahead of time, and just, I don't know, make it more enjoyable and more fun. But I will give this a proper intro, and then we will fully go into it. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my YouTube channel. David, that is horrible shit. No. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. The president of LoL Esports, John Needham, has done an interview with Travis Gafford talking about the future of LoL Esports, all things LCS, all things World, double elimination, etc. We're going to be reacting to all of it. Now, some disclosures about myself and who I am in case some of you are viewing this for the first time. My name is David Shynock. I'm a content creator on TikTok and YouTube, but professionally, I have 4+ years of experience in public accounting and finance, in consumer goods and media and entertainment, working for companies such as CBS, Disney, etc. I am going to be viewing this from a fan of the LCS perspective, but also a financial point of view. I care about the longevity of LoL Esports, given that obviously I'm creating content because I want to be involved with this long term. So these types of interviews not only pique my interest in terms of business and finance, but also pique my interest in terms of League of Legends esports and just the game that I'm a part of. They are doing this interview at the Chase Center. It happened the day before World's Finals, before DRX was able to win their 5-game series. And yeah, those balls are very interesting on the outside Chase Center. I was there myself. I was there all throughout Worlds, at Finals, at Group Stage. I did not go to Atlanta, but beyond that, we were there the entire time. I will make my opinions on League of Legends very clear throughout this video, so if you have popcorn, get it ready. We got a long journey ahead. Also some solo queue afterwards, but that's not for the YouTube folks. Let me pull this out over here. And chat, let me know how the audio is. I can adjust, obviously, as need be.
Well, it is the day before World Finals here, and I am in Chase Center as they're setting things up, and I'm joined right now by the president of esports at Riot Games, John Needham.
How you doing?
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations
thanks for being here.
Did President...
First pause already. I'm not going to do this often, but just so you know, I actually did get to talk to John for about 10 minutes at a priceless MasterCard event in New York City before week 2 of Worlds, or before quarterfinal. I'm not sure when exactly it was, but got to talk to him for a while, and he's a phenomenal guy.
Start this year? This is the year you got president, right?
It is, yeah, yes. It was early this year.
So you guys kind of restructured, right? Esports is its own business unit now at Riot?
Yeah, so Riot, we are building a new kind of entertainment company. That's our new vision for Riot. That's really grounded in gaming. We talk about it. It's built for gamers, by gamers, and esports is one of the big pieces of that. We have entertainment now with Arcane, and then we have our core business around games. So that's how we've kind of organized the company around a traditional entertainment company structure, but completely different.
Yeah. Okay. I think
You cannot tell me that they are not going for the Disney structure. That they're not trying to go for like the massive media conglomerate. In his press conference, he talked about them looking to build theme parks, which I've heard rumors of for about a year now. Starting like I'm assuming like Shanghai or China or somewhere else. It wouldn't be a theme park here before China.
I think it's really exciting, and it probably also helps people understand a little bit more from the outside how this stuff works, because for a while there was like the global or central esports,
Yes.
and then there was like the regional side.
Yes.
And while those distinctions still exist a little bit, now it's all kind of centralized in underneath you, I think.
We are one big org now.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Worlds.
Yes.
So it has been a couple years since you guys have been able to do something like what you are doing
2019.
tomorrow at Chase,
Yeah.
sold
Been
out
a
stadium.
very long time.
What has it been like kind of returning to this after a couple years away from it?
Oh man, the biggest thing is just the energy from having people. Again, seeing our fans' faces, that is what gets us out of bed every day and what gets us excited to do our work. So that first and foremost has been the most exciting thing for us. And for Worlds specifically, the competition has just been amazing. I think the weekend of quarterfinals was probably some of the best League of Legends I've ever seen.
Oh, easily.
And
Like
we
uncontested.
have two
hands
Korean
down.
teams in finals, and there are just storylines everywhere. And we've got our Michael
wasn't
Jordan
even at the
of League of
venue.
Legends playing, and we've got this great
For,
scrappy team
the
in
like, the
DRX,
two
who I
games that
really
everybody
love
talks
as
about. I
well.
was actually casting
So I
a
think
Red
we're
Bull
gonna have a
event.
really great finals. It's gonna be fun.
What has it been like as you've been trying to kind of figure out how to do all this again, right? Because I
Yeah.
assume that there's some atrophy over a couple of years where you're not having to book out venues and do all this stuff, and then you kind of have to get back into it. So has there been any kind of, relearning how to run the wheel?
100%. So yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, we have been pivoting events for 2 years at the last minute and
Yes.
trying to figure out how to actually execute now. We haven't had to do that as much this year, which has been great. But we still have a lot of logistics around how do we keep the players safe. COVID is still a thing. I get asked all the time, why are you guys still testing for COVID? Well, we're an international sport. We have international players
It's
coming
still a
here
problem.
whose home countries have different requirements on how we send them back home and whether they can go back home. So we still have a lot of protocols around that. And we have now a hybrid of what we used to do pre-COVID. We still do, and then we've added all these COVID protocols still that we're following. But I'm hoping this next year it gets back to where we were pre-COVID.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are hopeful for that too, just for everybody, as I'm sure everyone enjoys kind of the ease of treating things as they were back in 2019 and before.
Totally, but there are a lot of good things that came out of COVID actually for us. Our sport is a digital-first sport. We leaned in really heavy because we had to on how do we do virtual competitions. We built technology around that helps us. As you probably know from MSI, we had a little bit of controversy around that piece of technology and how we balance.
So, full disclosure, I've watched the first 15 minutes of this. Those that follow me on Twitter probably know that already. But listen to what he's about to say, because it's a very important piece of future thinking context that you might want to keep in the back of your mind.
Pings and everything, but there's a lot of good stuff there that's going to really enable us to do more competitions.
Yeah.
Because it's not all physical.
Yeah.
MSI this year clearly was the test for whatever, I don't know what kind of technology it is, but basically it's so that Korea can stay in Korea, or Korea can stay in Korea, China can stay in China, but they can play each other on an equal ping environment, which is really important, because if you want to have more international competitions, but you want to alleviate some of the pressure of having to travel consistently, being able to have like a Rift Rivals where both teams can stay in their home country but still have it in an arena where fans can come is massive. Think about that from a North America perspective. Obviously, you probably have to be out on the East Coast to make it as close to Europe as humanly possible to reduce ping. I'm not 100% certain how that would work, given that there's a freaking ocean in between. But imagine if you could have a world where we have an EU versus NA Rift Rivals, but North America plays from our own theater here, and it's just like the 5 players sitting up front, and you're literally looking up at the screen, and they're like right below it, but there's nobody that they're playing against on the other side. You know it's Europe on the other end, but you have 2,000 people behind you, like cheering you on. Like that is where I could see Rift Rivals going. That doesn't force you to travel internationally for whether it's just one weekend or whether it's 2 weeks, however long you make the tournament last. Like having that ability to play any team in the world on a low paying environment is going to be massive to the future of all esports, not just this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's been interesting to see how quickly you all were able to adapt as well as things started to change back in 2020. Going a little broader, though, and away from the event, you were just talking a little bit about how, Riot now becoming this bigger media business and entertainment business. What is the role of esports at Riot these days? Because when I used to interview Mark and Brandon and Waylon and all of them, they said, like, this is really a feature for players, right? Like it was less of a, this is a distinct business. It sounds like things have shifted in that direction now.
Yeah, totally.
But see, that's not like 100 ping is not going to be acceptable in any world. Like you have to have it down below like 30 or below. And even that 30 pros are apparently complaining. So I don't know. I think 30 is acceptable, but that's just me.
We talk a lot about, excuse me, we are the most player-focused gaming company on the planet. We just state it now.
Yes.
It used to be we aspire to be that. We think we are that. But a lot of what we're trying to do with esports and we're trying to do with entertainment is we're trying to graduate our players to be fans, to identify as either League of Legends, Valorant, or Riot fans, and having that be part of their identity. So all the fandom around sports really feeds into that emotion, and we think makes our games a more significant, kind of meaningful part of our players' lives. It makes them fans. And so that's really how we're using sports and entertainment.
There's been a long-standing sort of, I don't know, line that people talk about when it comes to esports for Riot specifically, where it's like, oh, these things aren't meant to be their own businesses because they are just meant to have people go buy more skins or something, right? It's just a loss leader essentially for the game. Now that it's its own business unit, does this have to drive profit for the company? Does it have to be a profitable business on its own?
Yeah, look, we are a business. We have been building a business over the last 5 years. League of Legends as an esport is a sustainable business for Riot. And really where we're focusing now is how do we make it a sustainable business for the teams? Because the teams are...
It's a sustainable business for Riot, aka it is profitable. That means directly that global League of Legends is profitable, which is a massive, massive benchmark that we needed to hit.
Still suffering. League of Legends, it's a very expensive business for the teams because the teams are still suffering.
Now the part that needs
League
to
of Legends,
profitable.
it's a very expensive esport.
Travis
for most
in
of
his
our
video,
teams.
I'll pause it. Travis in his video yesterday, when discussing like predictions, etc., stuff like that, said that teams get $2 to $3 million from Riot in terms of the rev share, which you'll hear about shortly here. It's interesting because it sounds like that's coming from global, not from the LCS like I thought it would be. But it's hard to interpret without obviously being inside and knowing the deals of the share.
And so our ideal state from a business perspective is we get to break even. We get all the benefits of esports for free, essentially, at Riot. All the profits above and beyond that, we want to push out into the ecosystem, mostly to our teams. And we've done that over the past couple of years. We have agreements with the teams on revenue share and how we work, and we have distributed more than that over the past 2 years because we're trying to right-size the team side of the business.
Yeah. Is it difficult at all? Because you cannot control how much these guys spend.
Yes.
And so you end up in a situation where they continue to perhaps spend more and more on players or on different things. Also, a lot of these folks are in other games under other publishers.
Yes.
So it must be an interesting challenge.
To comment on the rev share and salary cap, you don't need a salary cap because the teams that overspend their budget will eventually drive themselves bankrupt. It's as simple as that. And then they'll get out. Like, these businesses are not dumb. They understand that they can be profitable currently. Like, $2 to $3 million is technically enough to run a League of Legends team on minimum salaries, on paying like the bare essentials of what you need to, assuming that you already have the facilities elsewhere. So like Team Liquid, for example, already has the facility built that goes to more than just League of Legends. So you're not assuming all that much cost there just for like the League of Legends team. You're assuming salaries, you're assuming equipment, travel, and expenses. And you could probably keep that under 3 million if you wanted to, because 5 players. Let me pull up a calculator. The bare minimum, assuming it's 75K for 5 players, but then you need, say, a head coach and an assistant coach. Say you don't have an academy team. Well, they have academy teams. So we'll maximize this out. We'll say 14 total. Times 75,000 means that's 1.5 million. You assume another million for stuff, for expenses related to League of Legends specifically. You could technically make it work in 2 million, but that's cutting, like, obviously that's cutting a lot of corners. Like, you're hoping that they have revenue otherwise, which they do. They have individual sponsorships and they have other things to kind of help keep them afloat. But obviously, you know, when Team Liquid's spending $7 million on a roster, you know, are they generating 5 million on top of this?
Where you're like, we want to make sure these guys break even, and they're like, great news, because we're going to spend another couple million this year, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And we
point
very
is that it's
deliberately don't get
possible if
involved
you
in
wanted
their
to right
choice
now.
of how they want to invest the money that we distribute out to them. So yeah, rising player salaries, it's always a concern. Yeah, it's a big issue in our business right now.
I know Nicolo, CEO, he was
Yes.
there last night for media night, and he obviously cares a lot about the esports side.
100%.
What types of things does he look to you to make sure is happening
Nicolo, president
on the
of,
esports side? Like, what are
Riot
you
Games
held
in
accountable
general.
essentially as the president?
Yeah,
of the
well,
company?
I mean, I mentioned we want to build businesses out of esports, so we have business plans. Nicolo holds us to those business plans, which is great. But mostly what Nicolo wants to see is he wants to see us going big. I mean, what Riot does and why I love working at this company, I feel like I'm an entrepreneur in this big company. And so we do things like we opened a new broadcast center in Dublin this last year called Project Striker.
Yeah.
It's a bleeding edge broadcast center that we built in partnership with Amazon Web Services and Cisco. It's amazing. Please go sometime. I'd love to host you there and show.
John, my brother in Christ. You need you need one other person to go out with him to Dublin, because I'm down. If you're footing the bill, like I'm 100% down. Just let me know. DMs are open, man.
What it can do. We're building another one in Seattle. We're doing a lot of work on,
I'd rather go to
on
Ireland
how
than
we can
Seattle.
revamp and update our watch platform on our website.
Oh, I know. The broadcast
and how we
centers
can
are
build
massive.
more features that will kind of engage
5
and
years from
thrill
now,
our
we'll look back and
fans.
be like,
And
holy
he's
shit,
very
they're
supportive
500
of that.
IQ.
But mostly, like when you look at Valorant and how we've launched the Valorant esport, we don't cut corners. You know, we go big. Part of what we believe in is we want all of our sports to feel super premium. Because what we want to do is we want to pull in non-endemic sponsors. We want to pull in third-party stakeholders, investors, and teams. We want them to look at our product and go, this is an incredible, high-quality sports product.
Yeah.
And Nicolo really supports me in that.
When you talk about upgrading the watch platform,
Yes.
is that like lawesports.com?
It is.
Because a lot of people.
To explain why the broadcast centers are a massively important deal, it's because currently, like, the idea of any business is any cost that you're... Luna, zip it. Any cost that you have that you're paying externally, you can probably pay cheaper if you brought everything in-house. Yes, you're going to assume a lot of upfront costs, but once you have all of those assets paid off, they're yours forever. And all you're worrying about is... Luna, stop. Seriously. All you're worried about is amortized cost over time. But they're your assets. You own them. Nobody can rake you over. So say, for example, like giving one specific thing. Say you have to rent space, or like land or a building to host esports tournaments in. Like, for example, you're paying the Chase Center to use their venue. Well, what if you own the Chase Center? Then you're like, at that point, you're not paying somebody to host your event in a 20,000 seat arena. It allows you to, like, you have that asset. You're not paying the additional cost. You're paying money still. It still costs money, but you're not at the mercy of the market if the market rate were to increase. That's why, like, in New York, for example, like, rent stabilized apartments are such a big deal, because then you don't have to worry about rent constantly increasing. Or if you own your apartment, you have a fixed mortgage, that's better than renting whenever rent is high. Now, granted, when rent is low, then it's hit or miss. But when it comes to technology, broadcast, entertainment, etc., like, all this stuff costs an incredible amount of money. If you can own all those assets, easy enough.
People think lollysports.com sucks.
It does, but you can get good
The
rewards if
esports
you watch
website
stuff.
does
Okay.
suck.
The watch platform, I think a lot of people enjoy that part, but
Yes.
obviously, like, there's been times, even during this Worlds, where you will go, like, I think it was like groups ended and like quarterfinal schedule was not up. It would just like, there's no games available soon, and you're like, what is this? Is Worlds done now? So,
Hey, Travis,
yes.
this is like one of my biggest frustrations, and I'll get on a soapbox for a minute. We are not great right now.
Hang on, my dog is crying in the background because there's food within spitting distance of her. I'm moving it out of the way. Zip it. Luna, up, go. Up, go. There you go. Do whatever you want. Huh. All right, we're back.
At doing basic sports marketing. And by basic sports marketing, I mean telling people what matches are coming and why they should watch, reporting on those matches, reporting the implication of the results of those matches, and then again telling people why they should watch the following weekend and why it's going to be exciting. We're a relatively new sport. You know, we are 11, 12 years in right now. And so we're still...
Okay, that's a very important statement here that I feel like a lot of people need to contextualize here. Modern sports are hundreds of years old in some cases. They have, like, all of their shit figured out over an extended period of time. People are expecting LoL esports to be perfect. Now, obviously, things like the website you should have good to go from the beginning. But there are other things where it's like 10 years is not a lot of time. Especially when Riot gave the option to their employees during COVID to say basically, hey, clean slate, we'll give you 3 months of severance. If you want to dip out, dip out. Like, go right ahead. And they lost a lot of people doing so because at some point you get jaded with your job. You want to move on. You want to do something else. Some people were not happy with the company, etc. They lost a lot of people doing that. And the biggest limitation to any company being able to do what they want to do, other than money itself, is people. Money, time, and people. If you don't have enough people to do something, every other problem that, like, starts becoming, or all the smaller problems that start adding up, fade to the background. Ask any small business owner in America right now who's struggling to get people in the door because we're not able to replace as many people that are leaving the workforce, retiring, etc. Like, staffing is an issue. And all of these small things make a massive difference. How's it going, Myra?
Still trying to figure that out because we're a gaming company. You know, this isn't like something that's natural for a gaming company to do. But that storyline and that's so important in all of sport, right? We just haven't nailed that yet. And the website's a key part of it, right? It's not a source of truth. I go to other websites a lot to see what's going on and where to watch things, which is unfortunate.
Good that they're being honest
but we're going to fix that. And we're going to work more closely with teams on helping them to promote their brands and helping them to build stars out of their players because we don't do a great job.
Exactly. Disney wasn't built in a day, despite what people.
There were a lot of people
despite
who
what it
were
is now.
hoping to come to Worlds, wanted to buy tickets,
Yes.
had a
boy,
hard time with this.
Yes.
And so I don't think we've heard from Riot yet on kind of what the situation was with ticketing, why it felt delayed. I think the information that came out was kind of rough. We had, even on my team, my community manager, Numi, had like a Twitter thread going
Shout out
on,
to
like, here's
Numi.
tips on how.
She is an amazing individual that does a lot of work on social media and is trying to help grow this game alongside everybody else on the Name End podcast and a bunch of others. Be sure to check them out. They're on Spotify for those that aren't aware. All you have to do is type in Name End and LCS podcast, first one. Incredible bunch of fans that are going to go a long way in this industry.
How to buy tickets, because a lot of people got confused by it.
Right.
There was all these different ways. There was like verified fan. There was MasterCard stuff. There's all these different things. And so I think a lot of people came away, especially North American fans, from the ticketing process this year feeling frustrated.
Yes.
So I don't know what the sort of internal response or thoughts are from Riot on all that.
Yeah, we just need to get better, and this is part of that adjustment.
I mean,
of
that's the only
having
answer you can
crowds
give, really.
For 2 years to now having crowds. Another thing that comes into play that might be interesting is, when we look at how we're going to stage an event, it has an impact on the tickets that we sell. When we look at bringing co-streamers in and where they're going to sit, because we want them in the arena now. And
Yes, that's
I'm
how
sure
it
we'll
should
talk
be.
about that more
Co-streamers
as well.
should be in the
That has an
venue.
impact on the seats that we sell. But this year, there's really no excuse. We just got behind and we were late. That's all I can say. All I can say is I'm sorry. I'm frustrated that fans were so frustrated, and I'm just really appreciative that we still had enough fan interest, that we sold out as well as we did. And all the arenas we've been in have just been filled. When I was talking to a guy at Madison Square Garden, he was saying we've sold more tickets to the Hulu Theater than they've ever sold around an event there.
I was talking to some of the staff as well that worked like food and beverage. Like anytime I went up to get a drink or anything else like that, like I'd always ask them, like, how's it going? How are people treating you? How's everything there? And all of them just said that, one, people were very kind and respectful, which is good to hear. But two, like, this is a lot of people, like more than they normally get in this venue for like this extended period of time. The other thing I'll say on his statements here about them, if you read between the lines here, it all comes back to people. When they say they got behind, why did they get behind? Well, because they probably lacked the resources to take care of the issues that were at hand. It's not like a lot of these are technically new issues. Yeah, there's sure some growing pains of things that come back from 2019 as they try and, basically get back into hosting live events and everything else there. But they clearly did not have the amount of hands on deck that they needed to be able to resolve all the problems that were at hand in the time that they needed to. So yes, it sucks that tickets are late coming out. That's horrible. They should have 100% have had it out earlier, but that may not have been by their own choice. That may have been due to staffing issues, which then you question Riot Global as a whole. It's like, why are you not hiring enough people? Why are you not putting enough resources into this and giving them the manpower that they need to be able to implement all these things? Like, when people get mad, I don't want to sound like a corporate shill. It's just one of those things where I understand the issues that can come into play with this. And it's not as simple as saying, well, just hire more people. Well, it takes time. You have to interview people. You have to do, like, the whole HR process takes an extended period of time, and you have to do your due diligence of bringing people in. Because what happens if you bring somebody wrong in? Then there's way bigger problems than anything else. That you could take things in the wrong direction. They didn't let go of a lot of, they let go of some on-air talent, but like behind the scenes, I haven't heard anything other than just that a bunch of people left during COVID. Like, they were given the option to leave and get 3 months of full pay and get themselves back on their feet. But that was it.
Which is really amazing. So thank you to all the fans.
No, I
that
agree with you.
did
Tickets need to come out
suffer
early. And
through,
clearly,
and
sorry to pause it again real quick, but clearly that's a prerogative for them to get these tickets out earlier. It's been something that's on their mind, but you don't know what sets it back. I agree. If it's still an issue next year, then we raise concerns. Then we press this and say, Travis needs to ask him next year, do you not have enough people? Do you not have this? Like, what are you lacking to be able to get these out on time? Or is it just pure negligence? That's when you ask it, but at least we have a point of context now that we can compare it to. That's why these interviews are important. Riot doesn't have to come out and state it. necessarily, but it's good that they're taking interviews like this to let people hold them publicly accountable.
And get confused about buying tickets, we will get better.
Yeah.
We just weren't good this year.
All right, so I know you say you guys are going to do better on the ticket stuff, and you
Yes.
need to do better. There's kind of a mantra among league fans that's like, it's just always this way.
Yes.
So are there efforts that you guys are making internally, like actively now, to make sure that tickets are available sooner next year and that all this stuff can get communicated earlier?
Basically, we're just scaling our organization with
Boom,
more
there it is.
professionals
We're
who know
scaling.
how to do this stuff better.
That's it.
And we're going to have a new twist on ticketing for live events very soon.
I
as
don't know
well,
what
that I'm not
this
gonna
means,
talk
by the
about,
way.
but
I
I
have
will just
no
seed
clue.
it out there.
Okay.
That we're going to do some things around our events that lean more into the virtual aspect of events and how we can pull fans deeper into our big events.
Okay, cool. So I have a theory that
Oh,
at one
boy.
point in
Here
time,
we go.
as a child, you were in some sort of competitive event,
Yes.
and you were winning and doing very well, and you made it all the way to the very end, and somebody from the lower bracket came up and knocked you out, and you lost, and you now hate double elimination because
Yes.
of that. At the media night last night,
Yes.
Nas gave a big announcement that formats are going to change, and then you picked up the mic and said, but also no double elimination and knockout stage.
Yes.
The community has not been happy
Maybe.
about this.
I think
And
the
so-
thread was up to
VR
like
seats are
2,000.
definitely
a
I read it
possibility.
before I left
Yes.
this morning, and I've not read it yet.
Yes, yes. Well, I guess maybe we can have a longer discussion now about this, because I think the reasoning you gave last night is like all the major sports in the world do single elimination.
Yep.
Valorant,
Which is a shitty reason to give because there's too many holes that can be poked in it. And Travis is going to bring up Valorant. But then at the same time, it's like you can't bring up Valorant as well. Like Valorant did it, so why do we have to copy Valorant? Like I
does
We'll-
double
we'll get-
elimination.
this has
Is
some
Valorant
meat to it.
not a major sport in this world?
So one, Valorant will be a major sport. Look, we're just going into our first year of partnership with Valorant.
Yeah.
Like we have been experimenting with Valorant events for 2 years, and it's been amazing. And
Nice
the
little
community
tangent
around
to
our
try and
sport
promote
is
Valorant.
awesome and enthusiastic.
See how it is.
And it's going to continue to grow. So we are always
if I paused it right there, how many of you would be so pissed off that it was nothing but corporate speak? Obviously, he answers the question still, but like a lot of people will hear like the first 10 seconds, not get their answer, and immediately tune out.
talking about formats for all of our sports. We have spent a year having a conversation around League of Legends esports, all the way up and down Riot.
Yep.
And where we landed was just what I said last night. It's we believe that Worlds should have the biggest stakes of all the events we do. It's the biggest event we do. And we believe that the emotion, the excitement of on one given day, the biggest team could get knocked out means something in the sports experience. And it's really just that simple. It's not overthinking it. We don't hate double elim at all. We think it's a great structure. We just think for an event like Worlds that's as big and impactful as Worlds, that we want to keep from knockout stage forward single eliminations for now. But we constantly talk about this.
Okay. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack there, but the meat of the matter is, and it's something that I believe as well, in double elimination, your winners bracket matches get incredibly devalued by having double elimination. I know people are like, oh, but the storylines underneath. I care about the storylines up top. Believe me, in sports, I've played in double elimination matches. Double elimination is more fun to play in as a player. I enjoy single elimination more for the same reasons that he said. Every upper bracket match, every upset in upper bracket feels irrelevant because you know that from that point on, they're likely going to lose. Very rarely do these upsets then carry any weight. And it like that, for example, the DRX series of them beating EDG or even them upsetting who was it, Genji? Like, if they lose in finals and lose 2 series back to back, those lose a lot of value. A lot. And I know some people hold the view, and again, this is all personal interpretation and individual views. Some people like that you can have teams that rebound. I like when it's one thing. Like no, like you either win and you're in, or you lose and you're out. That simple. My other big problem with double elimination is that I don't believe there is any good solution to the bracket reset at all. You can like if you were going to do double elimination, I want a full bracket reset. I want 2 full best of 5s, but logistically that is impossible to plan for. Literally horrible. And as you guys are pointing out in chat, and I 100% agree, casual fans single elimination is always going to be better. Always. I get that the LCS has swapped to double elimination, and that's why I'm a fan of it regionally. I think every single regional league should have double elimination to ensure that the top teams are going. But when it comes to worlds and international tournaments, it is more about the spectacle and the entertainment than pure competition. And there's no denying that the spectacle and entertainment that you can build in single elimination is going to arguably, in my opinion, be more beneficial for the audience as a whole besides just the hardcore fan base than double elimination, despite double elimination being better for true competition. And as I said, nobody has a solution for the finals issue. Don't turn it into a best of 7 and give somebody a free win. I hate giving people free wins. So either reset the bracket, which is a logistical issue, because what happens then if the winner's bracket team wins? You rented out a venue, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to rent these sites for it to go completely wasted because you didn't even play for the second day. And there's no way that you can plan for the contingency backup, because then say you plan for that. Say you have a whole set of entertainment options available on day 2, but it doesn't happen. You're still eating cost for no reason. The biggest thing is making sure you have the proper 8 teams, barring some upsets, coming out of the bracket or coming out of group stage in what? I can't. I know, that's the point. You have to make sure that you are getting the right 8 teams out. That's why this year's Worlds bracket was so good, because we had the best 8 teams there. We had teams that could all be competitive with each other and allow for these Cinderella stories, even though it was still the LCK winning. I agree that I don't like whenever teams go 1-1 in group stage, but so long as we have a fully flushed out best of 5 from knockouts on, I'm fine with that. It's just making sure that we get the right amount of teams. Even if you want to expand it to say, I don't know, I don't fully know the right answer here, but I personally am all for keeping single elimination throughout the entirety of knockouts on. I have watched Worlds since 2016 on. I've been watching competitive esports since 2012, to put that into context, and mostly watching Call of Duty prior to this point, where everything has been double elimination since the beginning of the esport, barring a few years where the CDL decided otherwise. So I'm very familiar with double elimination. That's what I came into esports on, and I'm still telling you that I prefer single elimination. Always have, always will. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I hate whenever teams go 1-1 as well.
Should Valorant fans be panicking right now? Because if they get big enough and to the size and their events start to become the size and scope of Worlds,
yes,
it sounds like they based off the philosophies you have, they might have to move to single elimination.
They could,
because then it'll become one of the major sports in the world, right?
Well, we are not considering single elimination for Valorant, so I'll be very clear about that.
Because they're not there yet.
But we do always talk about formats and always talk about what's best for the event. So it's not inconceivable that we go to a single elimination with Valorant at some point, but it's not planned. The fans are happy with the format that we have. We have enough to do this next year in launching 3 international leagues and getting our whole regional infrastructure set up that we're not going to mess with the format for Valorant now.
Do you feel the fans are happy with the format that you have in Worlds right now?
No.
I think, no, I don't. And you know why? I think there are a lot of matches that are meaningless in the format that we have right now. And that's another part of the equation that we look at. We want every match ideally to mean something. And I think there's just a lot of wasted matches right now.
Exactly, Jeffrey.
I think once we get to quarterfinals and semis and finals, I think it's amazing. It's an amazing tournament. But before that, it's not optimal.
So one of the, I think one of the interesting things to me about
I'm glad
the
Travis is
single
pressing
elimination,
him, by
double
the way.
elimination
He
talk
should.
is, like, we had these amazing quarterfinals, right?
Yeah.
And you had even the casters and talent on the English broadcast that were like saying, it's such a pity that this team only gets to play one best of 5 at this Worlds. And so I think that's kind of what's been interesting to me.
That's
Is
because
I feel
of the lack
like,
of international tournaments, not
the
because of
esports
this.
leadership is holding
not
back
the
this
format,
wave of
everything
like
else.
fans and their own talent and media and all these people that are saying, please consider double elimination. And it is hard because in these conversations.
Pausing this real quick. I feel like the amount of people that want double elimination are a vocal minority compared to everything else. I completely get why he's pressing it, but I don't want this to be taken out of context. The people that tell Travis this and the people that engage with myself and others are the most hardcore of hardcore LoL esports fans in the world. This event is meant to attract everybody.
It sounds like, well, we just feel like single elim is better. It just makes the stakes higher. And so I'm curious, like, what would it take for you to consider sort of the outcry of people screaming for double elimination?
We do consider it.
Yes.
That's the thing. We do consider it. We listen to our
listening.
fans. We just made a decision. It's not about feeling. It's about the stakes. It's about what we want Worlds and those final stages to represent.
Agreed.
And we want it to be not just about the best teams in the world, but the best teams in the world on a given day. And we think that's important.
Right.
It's that simple.
I'm curious to see how things evolve over time. I think
Yes.
a lot of people are hopeful that if we see format changes next year, even if they don't bring double elim, that there will at least still be considerations around bringing double elim in the future. But it sounds like you guys kind of want to see how these go first before you look forward
We have
to
other
other stuff.
changes.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Very good. All right, so we talked a little about this a little bit as we discussed.
As they mentioned in other chats or in other interviews, it's about getting rid of the useless games that group stage and play-ins have. You get rid of those and you add more value around the tournament, single elimination won't feel as bad to people.
The ticketing situation, all that stuff. But I have for a while now noticed a pretty big difference between the way that we see Riot Games, especially League of Legends on the game side, communicate to their community and engage with the community, and the way that the esports side does, where I think you see a lot of devs. They have their own Twitter accounts.
Yep.
You see AMAs, you see dev updates, all that stuff.
Sounds like we don't know. Like, because there are no other international events right now, but generally speaking, it seems like on the international scale, at least with, like, to the extent of MSI and Worlds, we will not be getting double elimination. Like, I would accept that now.
We don't see as much of that on the esports side, and even this conversation right around double elim is, I think, the first time anybody's heard about any thoughts or conversations around this for the past year since we had Worlds conversations. Maybe we had something about it at MSI, I forget. And I think there's a lot of people who would like to hear more on this stuff. I think even just in terms of Worlds, right? There's been
agreed. Riot
ticketing
should
is
be
an example of
speaking
it,
out more
right?
and being
But
more
even
vocal
with
the
FanFest
community.
right now, it's
Even if
going on
that's
right
via
outside.
interviews
If
like
you go to
this,
lolesports.com,
like just
the top
interacting with
article is
the
about
press,
FanFest in
interacting with
Atlanta.
Riot doesn't have to come out and issue a specific statement. They can do interviews like this with multiple different people that allow the community to ask the right questions. If the community's not, or if the people selected are not asking the right questions, that's on them.
Not about FanFest in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And so I am curious what your thoughts are on, like, the level of communication that gets out to the community at this point in time from the esports side, maybe even how that differs from other places within Riot.
It's a good way to highlight your press while also being communicative with everybody
there's
around you.
nothing really unique about it. I think it goes back to just getting better at basic sports marketing, right? And a big part of that is community and communicating to that community. And we just haven't been great at it. So we are hiring esports community people right now. We will get better, but it's just we've got to focus on that. We have spent 2.5 years just really reacting to COVID and all of us being home and doing all that. We'll get better at this, but I agree, we don't communicate enough. It's super important. Look, I'm a huge Boston Celtics fan. I go on the Celtics blog every day. I'm on their Twitter. I follow everything to do with the Celtics. It's really important, and I want our fans to be engaged daily. We just haven't been great at managing that, managing our channels in a way where we can consolidate esports news in one place to make it easy to follow multiple leagues and things like that. We'll get better.
Yeah.
We've
Teams
got a
also
really
need to
good
put
guy
out
who's
content to
working
be
on
able to fill
strategy
up
for all
that, but
right now.
that's a whole
There's
other point.
obviously a lot of conversation around, as I said, like what's happening at this event or when are these events happening. But then there's also a lot of things that occur, like there was a day during groups, I think the last day during groups. It was about a 36-hour period where North America got eliminated. Papa Smithy stopped being GM for 100 Thieves and basically cited like, hey, we're worried about, or like, roster differences, right? Which a lot of people took as a sign of rumored North American orgs pulling back on spending. And then also the leak or rumor around LCS moving to weekdays, Val taking the weekend, right? And
To be clear, this is beyond the point that I have now seen this. I am now reacting fresh to everything.
at that moment, the community goes, LCS is dying. Like all this is really a big bummer. And we don't hear too much from Riot on any of this stuff, right?
No.
It's like kind of a silence thing. There's nobody that comes out and says, hey, LCS is not dying. Like here's the context on this, here's the context on this, here's the context on this. And I do a video that's like, by the way, guys, I don't think LCS is dying for these reasons. But I'm also
I watched
like,
your video.
I wish Riot was saying something as well, right? You know,
Yes.
even if it's just a post on Reddit or whatever. So
You go into the
is
room?
this
Okay. I love you.
Now that she's settled.
Okay. I love you. Let me adjust this. There. Now I can have it on the side, which makes it a little bit easier. Okay, this is a massive topic right here.
something you guys are thinking about, or is there a strategic reason why you feel like you can't comment in these situations?
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't want to comment on every leak.
I expect to hear more from Jackie as things solidify soon. That's what I would say there. You got to realize at the same time, like, companies can't always just address leaks the moment they happen, because sometimes when you address it, it's just general outrage that calms down after 48 hours, and then you can talk to people from there. But there's a lot of other moving balls in this that might prevent somebody from saying things. Believe me, I work for the biggest entertainment company. Like, red tape exists for a reason.
That goes out there, and we have windows where we want to talk about things. Like, I'll tell you, for the last 6 weeks, we haven't wanted to talk about much else than Worlds, because we want the spotlight on Worlds and everything.
Because then you
that's happening at
completely
Worlds.
detract away from Worlds.
I will tell you, the LCS is not dying. We would never let it die. We are going to focus a lot this
saved.
next year
We're
on the
good forever.
LCS and how we can make it better, how we can start to spur more interest in people watching the LCS. And whether we move to weekdays with the LCS broadcast, we're looking at that, but we're looking at it through the lens of science. So we do a lot of work on Twitch and viewing patterns there and on YouTube. And we will optimize for where we think the best slot is for LCS, but it is not, positively not the case that Valorant is pushing the LCS out and Riot doesn't care about the LCS anymore. We want to do what's best for the LCS. And the reality is, if you stand back and you look at our entire ecosystem, the LCK, they're broadcasting during the week. The LPL does the same thing. There are a lot of big American sporting events like Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football, right? They're during the week, and they're some of the most viewed sporting matches.
Before I let him finish, I will say, just to, you know what? No, I'll let him finish first.
During a week. So the weekdays, it is not a death knell at all. I think in a lot of ways, with our audience, it might actually be better for them to see it.
Yeah.
The other thing we're trying to eliminate.
Okay. Pausing there because that's one point before he goes on to anything else. While I agree to a certain extent, because you are competing with American football and all these other sports that happen on weekends that, quite frankly, do not happen in countries like China and Korea, where this is that event for them. And we are culturally not, we are a decade or so away from ever getting the same sort of relevancy with esports to that capacity. The important thing is that the LCK and LPL matches on weekdays build to the weekends. as well. You don't put Gen G versus T1 on a Thursday night. You put it on Saturday and you let the whole week build up to it. So that's important. Now, granted, we only have 2 days that we're doing this because clearly we've had more days in the past and it has negative effects. So I technically disagree on that. However, I had multiple conversations with various different CEOs of LCS teams during Worlds. And they all told me the similar things to what he's saying now, that this is not a blind decision that is being made. There is logic, there is reasoning behind this that can actually be somewhat supported. We'll have to see how it works. Because, and to combat your comment, Josh, and to play devil's advocate, because while I would prefer to have it on weekends, we put it on weekdays when people knew that it would also be on weekends. When you take it away from weekends and purely put it on weekdays, that's an apples to apples comparison, not prior times. Having it on Friday or Monday in addition to Saturday, Sunday is not the same comparison whenever you have those options and you can just cut out that one day if you want to. When you can no longer cut it out, that's when things change. The important part here is also to understand it takes, I forget what the pattern is. Is it like 2 weeks? I think it takes 2 weeks to permanently shift somebody's viewing habit until they get used to it, basically. So the first few weeks of this are going to feel weird as shit. But after that, I'm interested to see how it goes. And yeah, best of 3 versus best of 1 difference.
Multiple sports going. We were surprised experimenting with Valorant at how much crossover there was in viewership in a lot of ways. And a great example of this, I think, is M2 for Valorant last year ran at the same time as the LEC Summer Finals. And when you saw Fnatic play in Valorant, you saw a bump in viewership, and the LEC finals went down, and then it went the other way when Fnatic was playing in the LEC. So we see a lot more crossover in viewership that we didn't expect between Valorant and League, and we're trying not to cannibalize ourselves and give our fans ways to enjoy both sports.
Well, I do want to talk more on both the status of the LCS and the Val.
You don't, yeah. I mean, if you're splitting the same viewership base, yeah. You don't want to cannibalize them.
And league stuff in a second. But before we get away from the communication stuff, I just wish you had said that stuff 3 weeks ago. Because I think what happens is league
but they
fans,
didn't want to detract
especially
from
LCS
Worlds,
fans right now, they're kind of in like this despair cycle, right? Where they're like,
but then again, our Worlds has been over, so
we're losing at Worlds, and now we're getting moved, and all this stuff. And what happens sometimes is like whatever narrative gets out there first, if you don't do a good job of like coming in and like having a conversation about it quickly, it just catches on.
Yeah.
And so while we've done this interview, and I will link it a million times, I know that for the next year, everywhere there's going to be all these people saying, well, League got moved because of Valorant. Now, we don't know if it's going to get moved yet. We can talk about it in a second. But regardless, if it does, that will be the narrative that has taken hold. And so I think that's where I ask you a little bit more on like, how much are you going to be able to be more proactive in like having these conversations? Because the esports world, it's moving so fast these days that these narratives just catch on, and then it's before, if you can't catch it fast enough, then I'm out there like chasing it, playing whack-a-mole, trying to be like, no, this interview with John I did 3 weeks later, and everything's fine, et cetera, et cetera. So
here's the honest truth about it. When we go through these changes, we want to engage teams, we want to engage other people in the ecosystem to get their points of view on some changes that we make. Immediately when we do that, it gets leaked out. But we're not done yet with what we want to do. So it's hard for us at times to go out and make a statement
pushback from
to react to things like that when we haven't landed what the plan is yet. And then we've also got this issue of we want windows of communication, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe we're too formal on that, where we give each announcement kind of its own room. So there's a lot of things happening in our ecosystem all the time. We want to pick our spots that are optimal for the product, right? And we also want to have our shit together, frankly, and know exactly what we want to do so we can respond to more questions. So when these leaks happen, when these threads start out there, we're a lot of times just not in position to really react and say something substantive.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point that I guess I didn't really fully think through, but it brings up that predicament. And at least he admitted that they could be wrong, where in an ideal world, this doesn't leak and this doesn't come out until after Worlds, because clearly, and the conversations that I had at Worlds as well, it is not set. This is not agreed upon. Like, this isn't set in stone by the owners or the teams or even Riot as a whole. This is still floating. So why would Riot address something whenever, like, until it's fine? Like, whoever's leaking this shit shouldn't be. There should be an internal conversation that does not leak until it's intended to leak for the sake of either A, letting bad news out there to just get people, used to it, or to hype people up. Whoever's leaking shit, whether it's on the team side or Riot side, needs to fucking... I get people want to know information, but sometimes knowing too much is a problem. And it spoils some of the announcements that you can have. Like if Riot were to finalize this with teams and have everything set, then it'd be different. That's the thing that you do have to worry about, is that what if the team is leaking this to try and create some press and like try and move away from it. But the problem is, like, I would like to think that the owners have enough rapport with each other that you can handle this internally. If you truly have an issue, speak up with it and raise your points. Like, do owners truly not give a shit about each other and the health of the league that much? Because we all, like, this leaking is not healthy for the LCS. Like, that's where it's like, you might think that you're at, like, say, X team out of the 10 in the room leaks this. You're just causing more problems. You think you're doing good and saving it, but all you're doing is just feeding the negativity. And as Riot said here with John, like, you can't they don't want to address this in the middle of Worlds because then that takes away from Worlds. Clearly, they have a bigger format plan announcement coming next week at the LEC studio. So it's like, come on. Some owners don't, but you have to assume, like, that's the thing. You can't go into this pessimistic. You have to go in and assume that everybody has the best intentions and make decisions as if they do, even if they don't. You have to. Otherwise, you'll lose faith in the system. Everything will crumble from inside. You have to maintain faith that if it's not there, it will 100% get there at some point. Leaks happen like this, yes, as owners try to weaponize it. I get it. But whoever leaked it, it's like, again, you're doing more damage than good. And if somebody truly doesn't care, then if I'm the LCS, I'm looking to fucking out them from the league immediately. Sorry.
You don't have a Twitter account.
I don't.
Will you make a Twitter account?
I do have a Twitter account.
Is this a secret Twitter account?
No, it's not even secret. I've just
really?
never posted on it.
Okay, you never posted. I wish you would make a Twitter account. I said this in a video at one point in time. I said, John Needham, please make a Twitter account, because
I heard about that.
I think to me, you not having the Twitter account, or rather not using it, it is something that it feels like the gap in some ways symbolized between where the levels of comms that
Thoughts
I
on
see
TSM becoming a black sheep in
the
scene?
game side,
yeah,
and then for the esports side, where sometimes it feels like it's
I don't
a
have enough
silo at the top.
information.
So
Really to make that
I
decision.
won't
It
press you
seems
on
like they're making
or
smart
using a
moves.
Twitter account in this interview.
And
I
Dominic
do follow
Callis is a
Reddit
good
very
guy to
closely.
help
Okay,
lead things,
yes.
but
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a tough place.
Listen, I figure that's where I can get the most critical feedback.
Yes,
so.
I think that is very representative. You do get the
Twitter's
most critical
similar.
feedback there. Yes. Okay. We were talking a little bit about League and Val a second ago, but how do you balance these two sports and the needs
This is
between
a
both of them?
great
Because
question.
League's been around for a while. Val's like, in a lot of ways, I feel like everybody's like really excited about Val. It's
Yeah,
like
I am too.
the new product.
At least in North America.
How do you make sure that you don't compromise for one or the other, or maybe it is a compromise?
Yeah, we don't actually. We don't compromise for one or the other. Again, it gets back to how we window our events and our broadcasts to give them their own space.
Interesting.
We also spend a lot of time thinking about how do we give them their own personality as well? And Valorant and League are very different products. They reach different fan bases who expect different things in their esports. So we're trying.
Different but similar. Just pointed out earlier in this interview that there is fan overlap. So while they might be different, there are elements of similarity here. And there are also decisions that you make that while it might not compromise it intentionally, it might passively still do so, like giving Valorant the weekends. Like that will passively still give out the perception whether it's admitted to or not.
Trying to find kind of what is the tone and personality that we want for each esport as well. It takes a while. That's why we've spent 2 years experimenting with Valorant before we went into our partnership model. So there is no compromise. There is no, if we do this for League, we have to do this with Valorant.
It's as good of an answer as you're going to get,
There are some concerns around being consistent in how we police the sport and how we operate the sport, because we always want to have the utmost of integrity, and there are things just in the basic rule sets of how we govern the sport that need to be similar, because we always want to be consistent about that. But as far as formats, as far as the structure of the show and personality of the show, we want each of these sports to kind of find their own way.
Why?
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. I mean, the thing people need to understand here is that, like, you have to assume, like, I know a lot of people want to be like, just assume that, well, like, Riot's, motivated by their own self-interest and they don't care, etc., stuff like this. Like that, you have to give benefit of the doubt. You have to. These people are people just like you and me. John is just as much of a guy if you go up to him in a bar and have a conversation as you and I. You have to give them the same benefit you would in person as you should online.
Why do you feel that they need to be different, right? Because at the end of the day, even if the games
You're not
themselves
wrong.
are
I
different,
would
they're
love to
still
see the demo.
team matches made by Riot Games. You would think in some sense that they would not need to be so distinct from each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what our fans want. So League of Legends, we know over half of our fans watch because they want to get better at League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
And they learn I would say, a lot more technical sport than Valorant is. For Valorant,
That's very fair.
fast sport, amazing mechanics of these professional players and how quickly they can react to what's happening in game. So we very much focus more on, we want to be more of an entertainment product. It's faster, so that changes how we do the show. It's not nearly as technical as League of Legends is, right? And I don't think Valorant fans who are watching Valorant esports are necessarily watching it to get better as a player. I'm not going to get better at watching Valorant. Yeah. I will always suck.
I mean, right there with you. I don't, and to be clear, I don't think I'll get better watching League. I've watched a lot of it through the years. I continue to not be good. But I think what is interesting is you have had these different approaches on the Val and League side. One that has fascinated me is the fact that in League, I believe you call them permanent partnerships, and yes. I think in Val you call them long-term partnerships. How much of a headache have the League folks given you that you felt like you wanted to make sure that they were not permanent?
That's a good question.
For Valorant?
You know what, honestly, that is the first time anyone said that to me. I did not realize we had labeled them differently.
Well, and I mean, but I think it's not just labeled, I think they're structured differently too, right?
A little bit, like, yeah.
Oh, they absolutely, because one person paid $10 million to get it, the other person did not. It's free.
I think when you buy
a difference in ownership
in the league, unless something terribly goes wrong, you're in there forever, right? Whereas I don't think that same commitment, and there's no purchase, I think, for Val like there is in League.
So look, we took a lot of learnings out of the League of Legends partnership system and applied that to Valorant. And I think we architected a very modern approach to partnership with Valorant. So with League, we had the teams buy their slot. They bought in. It's not permanent. There are evaluation periods in that partnership. But it really didn't truly align us with teams. And it manifests itself in a couple of ways. So, one of the things you see is generally in our big leagues, you have teams that are really high-performing teams, and then you have a set of teams that are really low-performing teams, and they're not really investing in their roster, or they're not really investing much back in the sport, right? I don't think that's a healthy way to set up a sport. So with Valorant, it's not that the slots are free, that we gave the slots away. the teams are actually obligated to do a certain minimum amount of marketing every month to give us marketing materials every month that we can put on air to support their team
I
and their
love
stars.
that.
They're required to develop talent as part of the partnership. They're required to go out and get sponsors and do things. These are all good things for the ecosystem. So as long as they're doing those things, they're investing in their team, they're investing in the marketing of their team, they're giving us content we can use on broadcast, they will keep their slot. If they stop doing those things, we'll have an evaluation about whether we want to keep in partnership with them. But the reality is, Riot doesn't need the capital from the teams. We would rather the teams take the capital in Valorant and invest it back in the sport and invest it back in our shows and our events in a way that's just really healthy in building the sport.
So how do we give Dignitas their $10 million of value back?
So that's the way that we took all the learnings out of the partnership system for League of Legends and applied it to Valorant. And I'm super proud of it. I'm excited for next year. I think it's going to be a new day for sport.
To be clear, Jeffrey, Valorant, like, that is only effective for next year. 100 Thieves, granted, most of these teams were probably doing this like in the last 4 or 5 months preemptively, like to get ready for franchising. But 100 Thieves has been on top of Valorant content the entire time. They understand that that's where the social media influence is. So I'd be careful conflating the two, because what he's referencing here is like from this moment forward for the VCT.
Yeah.
Not just for esports and Valorant.
I am very envious of the Valorant system. I wish there was a similar situation with our league teams sometimes.
Yes.
Same.
On the other thing that is very
God
different that I think a lot of the community has noticed, and oftentimes league folks I think get envy of Val, right? So Double M we were talking about earlier, but also the co-streaming side, right? Where you have very different co-streaming strategies for both of these. There was a kerfuffle, I guess, about the co-streaming situation for Worlds even, right?
Totally.
So why the different approaches in these situations, right? Because whenever you see something, I think oftentimes league people say, wait, they're doing this in Val. This looks really cool. Why don't we get this in League? And I think co-streaming is an example of that.
Yeah, we're just starting. We're testing. So if I wind the clock back with Valorant, when we first started doing Valorant events, we had just a handful of co-streamers. They were virtual because we didn't have a live audience at that point. And it was really successful. There were some events where we got almost half of our viewership from the co-streamers.
I remember seeing that.
That was a new learning for us. And really, we took notice. And over the few years that we've been running Valorant tournaments, we've increased the number of co-streamers. Now we have hundreds around Valorant events. At Champions in Istanbul this year, it was the first time we brought co-streamers into the venue itself and set them up with their own pods. Most notably, we had Tarek there. Shroud was there. Funny story, I gave up my seat to Shroud on the plane back from Istanbul, which was fun.
Sure, he appreciated that.
Yeah, it was great. I'm a huge fan of his, so that was cool. But we learned from that having the co-streamers in the venue made their viewers feel like they were part of the event. We're always kind of geeking out about how can we take these events and make the virtual experience
It is so night and day watching a
co-stream. So after Istanbul came back, I'm like, what are we doing for Worlds this year with co-streamers? And we didn't have a plan. That's the honest truth. And there are a lot of logistics around setting up co-streamers in the event. Like I said, we had ticketing to think of. There are logistics around where we set them up in the arena. Like just earlier today, I learned that one of the pods for the co-streamers, the way we have the lights angled on the set, it goes right into the pod. So we had to do some adjustments there. Travel, visas, all those things. There's logistics to consider. So this year for Worlds, we wanted to experiment with co-streamers. We wanted to start with a handful, like we did for Valorant a couple of years ago, and see what happens with it. We've done co-streaming around LCS. It hasn't driven the level of viewership that we wanted, or that we've received from Valorant doing co-streaming. So hopefully we'll see with this experiment at this Worlds that
right there. That right there. All the people that said that, oh, without co-streaming, I'm not watching. That was your nod and tip of the cap to say, people are still watching, motherfucker. Like that's that is a great thing to hear. Because that, as you said, Josh, clearly co-streaming for Valorant is about getting new people in. But we got the base in League here.
We're drawing incremental audience to watch Worlds. And that's really, at the end of the day, what we want to do with co-streamers.
I want to know a little bit more about like the ecosystem like going forward. Like there's been a lot of reflection.
So we are
but I want to
start
looking forward.
When we've done these experiments and we can figure out how to optimize the experience for people watching, we're going to do a lot more. We love it. We think we've introduced a whole new dynamic in viewing sports.
Over 400K, but it's a different language broadcast. That is different. That is drastically different than if Double was pulling, 400, or Sykkuno was pulling 400,000 here. Like, it is not the same.
With co-streaming.
Switching gears a little bit over to LCS, in 2019 you did an interview that has been widely quoted where you said, "I don't want the NA League to be known as an import league."
Yes.
This year we were one match away, Team Liquid and EG, from having 14 out of 15 of the North American players at Worlds being players who had been imported over. There's also a rumor that you guys are going to open up minor regions in some capacity, unclear at this point in time, to not count against the import rule that is in place globally. So I guess
first I'm hearing of
have
this.
things changed on the import stuff? Because
I mean,
it feels
I predicted it. I think we're eventually going to consolidate down just to 4 major regions. But damn,
like it's only getting more of an import league, I guess.
Look, if we talk about formats a lot, the second most thing we talk about is our import rules. Because fundamentally, I don't believe fans will not like a team in the LCS that's filled with foreign players. I mean, like
agreed, assuming that teams can make them relatable to fans.
But here's the business implications. There are 2 sides to this coin. So if we opened up and we eliminated the import rule altogether, great for the LCS, I think. A
From
region
a competitive point of view,
probably is at a disadvantage compared to EU, China, and Korea, just from a wealth of player talent in region to kind of draw from to build a roster. So it would be great for them, obviously. They've asked for this. The other side of that coin is, what does it do to the LCK? We are in partnership with the teams in the LCK. When they bought their slot in the LCK, they sort of bought the region, right? So we try to balance that with, 3 slots or import slots. We may have more flexibility around that. Right now, we're not planning on walking away from our existing import rules, but it is something that we think about a lot, mostly to help the LCS. But there's just that other side of the coin that we need to balance.
See, this is fascinating for me to talk to you about.
I completely agree with the current import rules as they remain. In terms, I think you could change the import rules to allow all minor regions, sure, but I do not want to see less than 3 people that are native to a region on a team. I really don't, because I think none of these organizations, at least at the current moment, have a good enough understanding of how to make your players relatable to fans and how to put them out there in a light that is just, quite frankly, conducive to bringing in new fans or getting your current fans more engaged. Look at 100 Thieves. This is the least interested that people have been in the 100 Thieves program since it was created, if we're being completely honest. And a lot of that is due to lack of content. A lot of that probably, I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of that comes from the fact that you're just not put out there. Like none of the players go out on their own to really build a brand for themselves, which I think is a massive missed opportunity and an absolute failure on behalf of all of them. I'm sorry, but you're too early on in the sport. You do have an obligation to help grow content and help get your brand out there. You playing well on stage is not enough. Clearly, they finished second 3 straight splits in a row and have nothing to show for it. You have an LCS title, sure. But beyond that, or sorry, not second 3 straight splits. They were in the finals 3 straight splits. What do they have to show for it? Not much.
Because I think the community is worried that opening I know that the teams have pushed you, obviously, to try to import or open up the import rules a bit. But I think the community is a little bit more concerned about doing this because,
Exactly.
like, LCS is having diminishing viewership right now. If you ask the players or the fans, as I have, why are you less interested in the league? And they often say it's because they don't feel like there's players that they can connect to. And I don't think that's because of any kind of xenophobia or cultural issues. It's because of things like Summit coming to the LCS for one split, winning MVP in summer, and then fucking back off and leaving, right? And it's like, how can you build a long-term story or make people care about players who are slingshotting or rubber banding back and forth between the league? And so, Niski famously came over, then left, then came over, then left. Yeah. So I guess I am curious to you. A lot of people looked at the 2019 quote as a sign that you wanted to diminish how prevalent we saw top teams with, in some cases, full rosters of imported players.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment? Is this something you are working towards? Do you want to see less of this?
I'm not sure if I want to see less of it. Look, if that's how the fans are reacting, and if that's where we find we're losing viewers, then it becomes a really important problem for me to solve.
Better call out the
but
LCS
I think
teams
looking
if not.
at the problem from the other perspective, we opened up Champions Queue this last year as a way to help talent kind of train and become better pros. In Valorant, we have this premier mode that we're getting set to go into alpha.
Which I want in League so
the
fucking
talent
bad.
acquisition layer in our ecosystem, and it's built right into the game. And we do talk about how could we make Clash in League a similar thing? How can we make Clash more relevant for our players and use it and directly connect it into our esports ecosystem in a way that we can find more talent? But from my perspective,
that's all I need to hear. This positive Clash being remodeled to directly feed into like the North American Challengers League and all. Oh, yes, thank you, Riot. I don't know when it'll
the
come.
LCS,
But thank
I mean,
you.
it's really kind of been a league that's been powered by imports. And I would be really interested to see what you're seeing on how fans are reacting negatively to that, because I haven't seen a lot of that, frankly. It's mostly what I see is just the lack of performance of the LCS teams when they get on the big stage. That, what is the point?
That is what fans will say when we suck at Worlds, and then you ask them 6 months later, and they're like, I wish I had more players to root for or whatever. So I have a video, I'll send you. Okay.
Yeah, and the tough thing, with players kind of migrating around to different teams and leagues, it's very hard for us to control that. That's really on the team side of the business, and I don't know what we do to help in that. But I
control it with the global import rule at the very least. Like,
we
that's
do.
one layer
We
of it,
do.
right?
Yeah, but a lot of players, a lot of players are qualified to be in multiple leagues. So.
Yeah. That is such a fair point from his part. That even though they control the import rule, like you have a lot of people that have dual citizenships. You have, like, at this point, many of the pros that are in the ecosystems now can technically be in both. We have enough players to like manage that both ways. I don't know what else Riot can do there. Like, you can't increase the import rule or like limit the import rule further. Like, that's not on Riot. That's just on teams. I've maintained that view for a while. Like, if teams could just make, like, if you have all 5 players that are not from North America, like 100 Thieves had, you just have to make them relatable to people. You have to show that they're human, that they're invested in these local economies, these local teams, like everything around it, and they're just not. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, you talked earlier about how LCS is not dying.
Yes.
I have a couple quick questions about that. There is a lot of rumors around NA orgs pulling back on spending.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, a neutral thing?
Good.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's a good thing.
I think it's natural. I mean, I think all of us, businesses are really thinking a lot about, are we going into a looming recession? I know that teams are having more difficulty finding investors and finding capital because of this looming recession. So I think it's a pretty healthy thing.
To be clear, I'm not going to blame the teams for bringing in like all like import players either, but I am going to blame the teams and the players for not making themselves more marketable. That is 100% on them. Riot can't do shit about that. Like, you need to just do something.
For teams to be more conscious about how much they're spending on rosters.
Natural doesn't mean good, and we're happy that they're doing it. Natural, like, legitimately just does mean natural, that economies ebb and flow. They are not straight line. Like, I wouldn't read too much into that statement. He literally is just saying, yes, the market was oversaturated. It is now correcting itself. Like, that's natural. There will eventually be another point where we hit this exact same bubble. It will come. That doesn't mean it's good when it falls. It just means that from an objective third-person eye, it is good to see that the ecosystem is working as intended. The question is going to be if normal graphs go up and down like this, and we hit that peak, we have to make sure that we're ramping back up out of it at some point.
I think it's mostly a reflection on just the state of the economy and kind of rebalancing.
Exactly. Players
their
don't have to do
P&Ls
much.
to get
They
into
just
a
don't
more
do anything.
sustainable state, which I love.
Yeah. There's also an interesting thing. We talked about this a little bit on the Val side. There are some fans who feel as though some of the LCS teams are hanging out. You know, it's like they're sending players in, or spending a league minimum on roster, and then they're not doing very much content or marketing around it. Are you guys just screwed in your ability to keep these guys accountable because of the nature of the deals?
Great question.
It's tough because I think a lot of people are like, we want to do more, but I also don't know how much agency you guys have in being able to like push these teams to really do more.
There are evaluation periods in our structure with the teams. And it is a problem, and it's a problem that we are trying to solve in this new Valorant structure.
Yeah.
It is hard though, because most of the LCS teams, they have fully invested in their slot with us. It's kind of theirs unless they do something really egregious. It's very hard for us to say, hey, you're coasting, do better, you know?
Right.
Because we're not in charge of their P&L.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an unfortunate
An
situation.
acknowledged problem though.
What, okay, so what are you guys looking? You said you guys are planning to do more for LCS next year.
That was Riot basically saying we're fucked. Like, we can't do anything about it. We just have to wait and see if somebody fucks up so we can kick them out of the league. Even then, like, the only way that you do this is if you, like, buy out everybody from their agreements. Like, Riot has to invest, like, not a billion, but, like, a couple $100 million to rebuy the equity from everybody. And then just give it out for free again. Like, and you'd have lawsuits out the ass. That would take you. It's literally impossible.
Here, and to make sure that's not dying, you want to keep it around.
Yes.
What is the hope? Like, if I am an LCS fan, I am an LCS fan.
Hopium.
Yes, yeah. Give us some hopium or something, because I think this kind of goes back to the communication thing, right?
Yeah.
There are so many people that actually kind of just feel like they want to see the LCS fail. They're very critical online. You know, you have fans.
Okay. Great question. Glad you asked. A P&L is an income statement. Most people know income statement. Most people know the term income statement, but in the actual industry, we call it P&L. It's called a profit and loss, because your goal is to let me actually do this. SEC.gov. Pick a company. Any company in the world. Any Fortune 500 company that's not Disney, because I'm not allowed to pull those up. Pick any company in the world. Come on, I need one. Come on, chat. Don't let me down. I need one company. One publicly Amazon. There we go. Got it. What is Amazon's ticker? AMZN. All right, so we're going to go to company filings. AMZN. We'll go to their 10K. Issued now. YouTube and Google are a little bit big. So we're going to go down to consolidate. All right, statement of operations. also otherwise known as your P&L. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. So basically, what you're doing here, your P&L or your income statement is taking how much money do you make. In this case, this is in millions. Amazon makes, in 2022, Amazon made $59 billion of net product sales and $67 billion of net revenue sales. You are then taking out all of your expenses. Your cost of sales is how much money it takes to generate that sale. Fulfillment, technology, that's like the tech that they use to run everything. Sales and marketing. Obviously, sales is like getting your product out to other people, like making sure that's known. Like, believe it or not, even for companies like Amazon, they still do very much have a sales team. Marketing is obviously marketing. FaceClan would be an interesting one to look up that I can do some other time. G&A is just like the general cost to run a business, like HR, legal, etc., all stuff like that. And eventually, you get down to your operating income. Your operating income is how much money do you get at the end of the day for operating your business before interest, before like all the other, like you get tax. There's other things that come with that. This is just your, like, how much does your operation, like the core thing that you do for your business, how much do you make? And then you deal with like interest income and other small things that aren't related to the actual like day-to-day operations of the business that eventually get you down to your net income or net loss, which is $2.8 billion for Amazon. So again, you're dropping from $127 million in sales down to a net income of $2.8 billion. These then obviously get split out between earnings, but that's a whole other thing from there. Scaring the shit out of me. But that's important because that determines, is your company profitable? When they talk about profitability and being a sustainable business long term, you need to be able to generate more money than you are spending. And that's what your P&L determines. Your P&L is a snapshot in time of how much money you were able to make. And then your cash flow is arguably just as important, if not more. This is how much money you have on hand in terms of cash that is not tied up elsewhere in investing activities, etc. Stuff like that. I won't bore you guys and get into all of that. But that's your P&L. And that's why, like, whenever esports orgs talk about being profitable, they're talking about those financial statements. And putting together those financial statements is my job, full time.
LEC fans, they invade the subreddit and they shit on us.
Yeah.
What?
I hope that explains well. I know accounting and finance can be a little bit complicated, but I hope that at least gives like a very basic understanding of it.
What do you have to say for the fans that are worried about the future of the league? You know, what can make them feel more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, look, we are going to spend this next year really focused on the LCS. I think out of the 4 big regions, the LCS is suffering most. We see declining viewership, although at the end of last year, we saw an upswing in viewership again around summer finals that we were super happy about. But, you know, when I think about my experience with the LEC and I look at some of the other regional leagues around the world, they have found a good tone for their shows that really resonates with their audience. I think the LCS puts on a really high quality show. I'm not sure. I think we can do better with that show to make it resonate more closely with the audience.
Yeah.
The LEC team has just found
That's
a
fair.
great way of kind of being more
fair.
meme in their approach.
It's gotten better,
you know,
but
to
yeah.
esports, and it's fun, and the fans react great to that.
I agree
I'd
with
love
the
to
LEC.
see a lot more fun in the LCS broadcast. We're looking at other ways. You know, we talked about broadcast.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would like to see like more skits, more like genuine content that comes from the people. Like when the LEC has a song, like you know that like Vedius and Dracos like genuinely love those, and their passion comes through to help drive that. When like Dash and Emily and them did like the D&D skit at Worlds, like you know that they genuinely like love or enjoy D&D. And going that route, like being able to show the personalities that are there to entertain you in addition to the players is a very important thing. So essentially he's saying they can't make it so the teams have profitable business and cannot force it. Yeah, well, that's like Riot can't look at TSM and be like, "Hey, spend more money." You can't do that. Like, I mean, sure, you can give them incentives, but you can't force anybody to do anything financially. You can't, like, that just can't happen unless it's written into an agreement that you must spend like X amount. Like with Valorant, for example, they already have that, but you can't in this case, and you can't strip them of it unless they do something that breaks an agreement, because these teams have ownership in this spot. Whereas with Valorant, you don't have ownership.
Pastimes that we can more optimize and get them out of the way of other esports, so that they can have their own moment and their own audience, and we'll optimize for that as well. And then again, how can we support the teams in their marketing efforts and building stars out of their players, and just leaning in more on that. But it is a big concern of ours, and we want the LCS to come back to the strength it was 2 or 3 years ago.
We only have a couple minutes left, so I will just.
Josh, just so you know, we do have a floor in the LCS. It's $75,000. You can't get paid below $75K. Yeah, you technically can be profitable being a bottom feeder. Now, granted, it doesn't cover like everything else around your business, but realistically, I think like if you wanted to scale back to apparently the reported just $2 to $3 million that Riot gives them as part of the rev share model, like you 100% can. And have to is different. You don't have to run it that way unless your investors are forcing you to. But that you're getting into really complex business.
Throw a couple fun bonus questions in.
Yes.
I really love TFT.
Yes, so
TFT,
do
I have
I.
heard, rumors are that TFT is actually massive from a player-based perspective. I don't think you guys have ever really reported numbers around it. But we talk so much about Valley Sports. We talk so much about
Yes.
League Esports. Obviously, there's Wild Rift, et cetera. But on the TFT side, are you guys planning on doing more than you guys are doing right now on the esport? Because right now it feels
Yes.
like it's more like community fun tournaments, right?
Yeah, totally. So one, TFT is the thing I do first every day of my life these days. I'm up very early in the morning and I play 2 matches of TFT.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan.
Doing Rage Wing all the time, I'm sure?
I'm
Yeah.
doing Dark Light. Dark
Okay.
Light's my build right now.
Gotcha.
And we love the game. It is the #1 strategy game in the world right now. I'll just
Luna, stop.
say that.
Okay.
It is huge with Fight for the
Damn,
Golden
did not know
Spatula in
that.
China and the PC version around the world and
Shit.
the League client. It is, you would be shocked at how many players that we have at TFT. When we look at TFT from an esports perspective, it doesn't have a lot of action like League or
TFT
Valorant,
esports
right?
is
Because it's
impo-
a turn-based
is
strategy
not
game.
fully
So
fun to watch.
we're thinking about the esport in a different way than we are with League and with Valorant. We're thinking of it not really as much about a viewership product, but we're more thinking about it from a participation perspective. So what Magic does, what World Series of Poker does with their tournaments, we're dreaming of ways that we can bring thousands of
I
players
love that.
into massive tournaments around TFT. And I've got a guy who's working with the TFT team right now to kind of bring that to life. So may not happen this next year, but in the next few years.
I love that. And I genuinely love TFT as well. Like, when the ranked season ends for League of Legends next week, I'm going to be playing exclusively TFT for 2 months. My rule is that I do not play. I take a 2-month break from League of Legends, or what equates to like a 2-month break, and then come back to it in the new year and purely play TFT and other games like Modern Warfare 2. Come here, Luna. Luna, Luna, come here, up. Luna, up, jump up. Come on, up. Good girl. Hi. I know. Hi. But yeah, I take a little bit of a break. So yeah, I completely like that's the thing. Like, and that's where it's like, to Josh's point, like the idea's point on. Riot understands what they want to do with their products and where they want to take them long term. If you think that they have like 5-10 year plans all built out. These are called LRPs or long range plans of where they want to take things. They know. And that's where it's like when people are like caught on the smaller details of this, like I get it, Sure, but sometimes you just need to step back and look at the bigger picture.
We're going to have a really exciting competitive system built around TFT.
That's awesome. I'm sure TFT people will love to hear that. Finally, anything exciting that you can say about Riot Esports in 2023? Anything you haven't said? We were talking before this, and you said that you love to throw things out in these. So.
Yeah, well, look, we've got 2 season start events this next year, both for League and for Valorant. We have this whole new international league system for Valorant. We've got 20 plus regional leagues around Valorant that I'm really excited about. We'll have some more format news around League of Legends, esports, and some of our specific regions that I'm pretty excited about, and some experimentation that we're doing there. And then all the formats for MSI and Worlds. I think with all the criticism, I think fans will be excited about the small moves we're making towards what they're telling us to do.
Where is MSI next year?
Have we announced? Nope. We have not announced.
All right. Well, I tried. Anyway, thank you so much, John, for sitting down. I know this is the first time we've been doing this in about 3 years, I think, since you've taken this role as leading on the esports side. So thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Thank you for your participation in our esport, your fandom. Welcome. We love you. We serve you. So please keep the feedback coming in. We are listening. Even though you may disagree with some of the decisions we make, we're constantly reevaluating how we can make our sport best for you. And I want to tell you, thank you for all the years of fandom and content and all the efforts you do around our sport. We will do this a lot more. Just ask.
Thank you.
And I will be here for you.
We will. Maybe we can get you on Hotline League or something like that. And then
love it.
People can call in and scream at you about double elimination.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Yep. Cheers.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. I'm at Worlds right now, and I would not be here live watching games that have no Western teams in them whatsoever, but still having a good time. If it wasn't for Alienware sponsoring our trip out here, we've done a whole bunch of stuff, and it couldn't have happened without them. So thank you so much to Alienware.
I don't know if Travis is ever going to see this, but in the case that he does, that was one of the best interviews that let me copy this over. That was one of the best interviews that we've had in the League of Legends esports ecosystem in such a long time. It's so nice. Like I know a lot of people don't care for like these industry insider things and like how the general landscape is going to go. These interviews give people like me and those that want to work in the space, that want to be involved in it, just confidence of where it's going, because you can take this information, apply it to where we're at now, and then just go. And he asked every right question. He pushed all the right buttons. He pressed on issues that he should have when it came to formatting, when it came to Valorant versus League, when it came to the LCS slacking, like all of this was incredible. Like 50 minutes felt like nothing. I had the first like 13 minutes on in the gym earlier, and I'm sitting there forgetting that I'm working out while doing this and just listening the entire. It was so well done. Thank you to Travis. Thank you to John Needham. You don't want to have these all the time, because then like you don't want to talk like big scale more than like twice a year, generally speaking. That is always good to have 2 touch bases, which we do with MSI and Worlds. But it's like that was just perfect. That was legitimately perfect in every way, shape, or form. Do me a favor, if you guys can, be sure you like the video there whenever you get a chance. I'd imagine this is not going to be one of his most viewed videos. Like the normal casual audience is not going to go in. Just do me a favor and go in and like it when you can, because it promotes good content. We get more stuff like this as it gets views, etc., stuff like that. But just overall, just phenomenal. I don't have enough good words to say on it, and just want to Oh, what's this thread? I don't know. I know people are gonna get hung up on certain things there. Let me make sure I tweeted Travis here because he deserves it. One of the best. Sports. Oh, I should probably quote tweet his original thing just to make sure that I'm yeah, there we go. Just so I could share it as well. Yeah, make the I know. That was great. Yeah, Double Limb will definitely be the talk of Reddit everywhere else because they're all gonna fixate on that. But quite frankly, I already made my opinions clear on that. It just is what it is. Nothing really else to be said. But you know what is gonna happen? We're gonna play some goddamn League of Legends. Is what we're gonna do when it loads. It is flex time, my friends. I got one more week of playing this game until I take a break. So we need to get everything we can in while we got it. And music's still muted. Phenomenal. Thank you all, by the way. I know some of you are probably going to dip out after watching this, but thank you for tuning in. It's a blast. It's a blast being able to hang out with all of you and just kind of chill. Is Flex queue better than solo? No, personally, I enjoy solo queue, but I've already hit plat in solo queue. So I don't need to play it anymore for the rest of the season until I start going for Diamond next season. So for now, I want to try and get up to Plat 4 in Flex as well. And for those that might not believe, even though you can just easily Google my thing, Plat 4. If you guys wouldn't mind doing me a favor though, drop a like on this stream while you're at it. It does a lot to help the algorithm and VODs and a bunch of other stuff. Hey, no problem at all. Glad I can help in any capacity that I can. I'm excited for the LCS to kick off later in the year or early next year, but it's gonna be a fun time. It really is. You queue up alone and play? Yeah, I'll queue up alone on anything. I don't give a shit. So I did. Just because I'm only playing one game here, unfortunately, I'm gonna pass on that. I just want to be able to chill, play alone, and not feel like I'm letting any of you down if I do run it down in any of these games.
Shall I turn in my badge and rifle as well?
I do have to move this slightly out of the way so I can get this over. I promise you, though, I will be playing games with everybody else. More specifically, I'll be playing TFT with everybody in the off season. Like, it's not like I'm not going to stream and not do anything. I will. I'm just going to be playing TFT.
Let us hunt those who have fallen to darkness.
Go Bane. Thank you all for liking. Truly appreciate it. Do I get the impression that the group before that I'll be matched with will bless you? I mean, if they do, then I start split pushing and win us the game that way. Yeah, TFT lobbies with fans are gonna be a blast. I genuinely love TFT. I do. It's one of those like if I just want to be more chill for a night, I will play TFT. But otherwise, I want to play ranked play. Like I genuinely love the game of League of Legends. I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but I freaking love it here. I just realized my phone is low. I should probably plug it in. Really, Draven Soraka. Okay. No, I don't really watch. I don't watch many streamers in general. Honestly, I don't watch much gaming specific content. The only people that I watch on a consistent basis, or actually the only person that I really watch, is Ludwig. But even then, I don't watch him for his gaming stuff. It's for like everything else. And then besides that, I just watch like series, like media related stuff, whether it's music, movies, television. I don't know. Pokestat, no. Like the thing that I've been binging in terms of Ludwig's content over the last 2 to 3 days has been I don't know if you guys watch like the what is it? Oh, tag across all of Europe for like 72 hours. I genuinely love that series. And having somebody to react to that type of stuff so you're not just watching it alone is great.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Uncompromising action delivers results.
Never tried TFT, what makes it so appealing? Just that it's casually competitive. Like, it's one of those where it has that kind of casino feel to it. Like the RNG elements of like a slot machine or roulette, while also still being somewhat skill based. So it kind of tickles that itch pretty well.
Minions have spawned.
Why is he wasting his mana?
night is my armor. I am the truth behind Project's lies. The end is inevitable. My mercy protocol was deleted. I have deemed you a threat.
Go.
Trace their dark paths.
I thought I got out of there.
Kinetic acceleration is go.
Booyah. And we got boots,
Launch engage.
which is great.
An enemy has been slain.
Hey ladies, drop it down.
We are only free if we are allowed to fall. Death and shadow go hand in hand. They erased my past, not my memories. My vengeance is all the humanity I have left.
An ally has been slain.
Damn.
I was rebuilt to
Did
override
literally all I could
everything
do there.
they are.
An enemy has been slain.
I kind of left him hung out to
Ally
dry.
has been slain.
Stay out of my way.
Bitch, I was trying to condemn him into the wall. Sorry. Too bad. Deal with it.
Attack sequence initiated.
Ugh. Okay, I need to get out of this. Wait, no. my CSing has gone to shit in the last... Oh my god, I've missed so much CS.
An ally has been slain.
Queen install in T-minus 5. Processing spike.
Alright, time to back away. I'm CSing like shit. Jesus Christ. First 4 waves was great. After that, horrible. God damn, that was bad.
An enemy has been slain.
Alright, we should be able to crush fights now. 2 kills ahead in terms of gold. If I can get him to miss this wave, that'd be great. Nice. Draven doesn't get that. There you go.
An enemy has been slain.
Oh, he's got 2 good items. Damn.
An ally has been slain.
I'm just gonna stay here, why not? He really stepped me up and, or let me step up and get that. Wow. Alright. Good girl.
An enemy has been slain.
Ah, no. He heals way too much. Ah, nope, he does too much. I figured so. I don't know why. I flashed to try and go for that. Shouldn't have. gonna require more people to kill him. It's just the two of us. It'd be amazing to shut down this rocket healing as of right now. Ooh, Kane just flat out going for it.
The hunt is on. This will escalate quickly.
Okay, I'm coming over. Oh, and Olaf is just crushing top lane, so this game's over anyways.
I will sleep when project is eradicated.
Yep.
Shut down.
Implementation initiated.
There we go. Sorry, bro. I'm just taking the. Kills are kills. Like. Have a good night, Jeffrey. Thank you. I will.
An ally has been slain.
I know their secrets.
And with that, we back. Well, after I steal this massive, ginormous wave. Bro, why would we not push this in? Need it for item. We pushed it in. There we go. Massive item spike.
Project's lies are a slow death.
You don't have to ping all your lancers, bro. Jesus.
Loyalty is code project failed to execute.
Now I wait.
I am watching you. I will eliminate you. Sensors online.
Oh, he fucked it up. Fucked up his entire combo.
has destroyed a turret. All that is left to me are my memories and the hunt.
Definitely an A for effort from Thresh. D for performance.
I have compiled all of Project's errors. Target acquired.
Go.
Mercy
Okay,
was
hit the
not
hook.
specified in Project's code.
Alright, hold up. There we go. I found 2 items. That's a minion.
When you cut away humanity, all that
Oh
remains.
shit. Yeah, it's a death row. Wow. Damn, I thought I had that. That was me getting a little bit ego. But it's fine. Olaf comes in and cleans it up. You get him, Olaf. You get him. You get him. Oh my god, Thresh. Nice look.
Has destroyed a turret.
Yeah, this game's just
Rampage.
over. Olaf is a wee bit strong.
One more iteration and they will have no need for us.
I'm on my way. Easy enough. Yeah, he did. And it is glorious.
I know the truth.
Oh shit, I'm dead. Oh, he went flat forward. Oh, we had that too. Yeah. Zoe. Yes, I'm getting a little bit reckless with it, but it's fine.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Okay, Olaf. You keep going. You do you, boo.
I am one acquainted with the night.
There we go, straight mid. All problems are solved.
Uncompromising action delivers results.
That's impressive.
The night is
Like,
my
we
armor.
just shred this tower with ease. Oh. Give me some more ice though. Oh, I thought oh, I tried to go for it.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Don't lie. That's or not. Uh-oh. Hold on, kind of kill angle. That's a lot of healing. Guys, I'm coming.
Kinetic acceleration system.
Has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. Victory!
Close, but no cigar. G freaking G's. Alright, one more actually. That went quick enough that I can play one more. What arcade even though Olaf probably. Should have gotten it. Yes, sir. That nice plus 18 LP gain. When you're really, really on what level you should be. Nah, there's 2 more. Oh, you mean try one more? No, like legitimately one more. Then I gotta get ready, go to bed for work. Got a busy day tomorrow.
Shall I turn in my badge and rifle as well? Nah. We're fine. We got this. We'll see what kind of angle we want to go with. We're going against the Zeri, which is very interesting. Zeri, Talon, Singed. Got it. Oh, man.
All the world on one arrow.
Screw 'em. First time seeing a Cassante. Nice. Same. Legit have not seen a Zeri in months. What a cancerous comp. But we'll make it work. Championship Ash, because duh. I think it's a Shaco support Singe top. That's my guess, but we will see. Oh, of course. Oh wait, I'm dumb. I forgot they had a Fiora. Whoops, my bad. Yeah, that was actually very obvious. Okay, we're playing a Plat Jungle, or a Plat EDC on Zeri. Let's see if they're a Smurf or not. 60% win rate in 10 games. %80 win rate on Ezreal. Platinum 2. Okay. Looks like we're going try-hard mode this game. Got it.
It is not the goddess Avarosa's glory I wish to recapture. It is our people's.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I really like our comp into theirs.
We are all kin of kin, blood of blood. I am Freljordian, family, tribe.
Minions have spawned.
I will not save you. No, I'm not happy to see you. Yes, that is a horn growing out of my head. Yes, that was a banana. No one.
Wait, they're both running
banana.
Ghost too? Oh,
No,
that's
I'm
annoying.
not happy to see you. Yes, that is a horn growing out of my head. Yes, that
Today,
was a banana.
the fate of our people
No one
hangs in the
expects
balance.
banana.
Or not.
Do you always fight so poorly? No, I'm not happy to see you. Yes, that is a horn growing out of my head.
And we wait.
We will unite the Freljord. Prepare yourself, you face
That should have sold it well enough, hopefully.
The ice is not pain, it is surrender.
Oh, I did that a little too.
Together, we are strong. Together, we are Avarosan. You got nothing.
Yeah, we denied her one CS. That's good.
Let's see how close they can get.
That's a good trade.
Be cold. I have seen things the Southerners cannot imagine.
I want to reset this way.
I hold a god through ice. I hold my heart.
First blood.
My people know only cold and hardship. I will teach them peace. Swiftly now.
Oh, I fucked that up so bad.
Rain death.
CSing horribly.
I will not
Jesus.
allow us to be divided. We are one.
How'd that taste?
Ready?
How'd that taste?
Peace requires a steady hand.
Shaken, not stirred.
Nope, not funny. What is goodness but trying to do better than your forebears? Strike quickly!
They are definitely going to be scary at level 6.
The Freljord shall unite! Stand together!
You have slain an enemy.
You fought an Iceborn. Death was the only possible outcome. There will be peace in the Freljord. I will forge it.
An enemy has been slain.
You face an Iceborn. This is the fury of an Iceborn. The day our tribes one, the world will tremble. Don't you dare!
Wow, really? Thought it was far enough over, but okay.
Leave the target.
I tried to time that well and didn't. I really need to back with this
An
lead.
enemy has been slain.
It's finally frozen in a good spot.
Seek
Oh, she's
peace,
just gonna
but
straight
bring
up
the
push it.
tools of war.
We'll push this next one.
We must press on.
We're strong enough that we could probably unfreeze it. Alright. And with that, we have phenomenal first back.
No fate is written, except
That's actually
by
massive
us.
to be able to get boots and Noon Quiver. Down slightly in CS, which is not good. But yeah, gonna be down quite a few actually.
When I say Avarosa,
An ally has been slain.
her dreams.
Killing spree.
God hear me. I do not seek the throne of Avarosa.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain.
That's fine. We get the second plate before he's able to
foe is my will given form. I am it.
Okay.
It is me. Make it count! I am a warlord. I have given oaths to few. I have taken oaths from many.
There we go.
All that frost touches, you know. Fly! I will show them the power of an iceborn.
Oh, I done goofed. Oh, you guys did. Damn. I could I have gotten out of that? Probably.
An enemy has been slain.
Praise Orn, the Firebringer. I ask for your wisdom, First Builder and Forge Lord.
I'm not messing around.
Hearthbound and Iceborn, Spirit Walker and Fireborn.
Yeah, it's very much a screw me comp, but alas, we will still be fine.
I dream of a nation for my people.
There we go. Ah.
My tribe will bring peace to the north. The south should fear us.
Oh, I've done fucked it up.
Move quickly, position well, and the battle is won before blood is drawn.
Ah, I got her. Nice.
You have been slain. Killing spree.
Actually, this sounds smart. No, it's not. Better off just doing that. I need that little bit of lifesteal for now.
Destiny. It is a worm that ruins lives and murders innocents.
Oh, bye.
And bring me woe.
Shut down.
Oh, that's just troll.
An enemy has been slain.
Sante's 3-1? When did that start happening?
I was born into poverty. All Freljordians are.
Let's fly!
Do not confuse
Killing
me.
spree. Shut down.
always on the outside of that getting hit.
Gods and spirits guide us, but our lives,
Your team has destroyed a turret.
She's got item
Your
advantage over
team
me.
has destroyed a turret.
what is goodness but trying to do better than your forebears? Swiftly now.
An enemy has been slain.
Too easy. Got that.
The Three Sisters are a myth that has strangled our people. It is a
I keep
tale
thinking
of
that
failure.
his thing is like an Akali Shroud that you can ult somebody out of it. It's ultimately on me, but
What is it to lead? It is to lie. It is to
Alright,
preach
we're about
passion
even with
when
items
you are elated. It is to give hope
with
when
Soraka,
you
I think we win the 2v2. Pretty handedly.
An ally has been slain.
You are all paid blood for blood.
An enemy has been slain.
When I say Avarosa, I hear my mother and her dreams. I was raised for war. I am Ironborn.
Yeah, good try.
Spear, reveal our way. I hold a bow of true ice. I hold my heart.
Bye-bye, tower.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
There will be peace in the Trailblazer. I will for it.
Don't want to give up this bounty.
must
That would
press
not
on.
be good.
How that
An enemy has been slain.
Hangs in the balance.
Alright, now's when we come back.
An ally has been slain.
They think
Your
me
team
cold.
has destroyed a
I have
turret.
seen things the Southerners cannot imagine.
Nice. He's 0-2 and 6, but still a mid lane or mid lane inhibitor already.
Avarosa speaks.
You guys go right ahead. I'm just gonna chill
All
over here.
gods must. She is our dream of unity.
Yeah, you guys have fun with all that.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Easy enough.
Victory!
Two fairly simple games, all things considered. Happy to get the win over the Plat 2 guy. That always makes me happy. Held my own. Wouldn't say I beat him by any means, but we take those. Literally one game away from gold 2. We continue to climb. My OPG, or my games played recently, has actually been kind of absurd. Like, majority victories for like the last little bit. Which obviously is mostly because I'm climbing up from gold 4 to plat 1. But we are slowly getting there. Alright, that is it for me for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you had a good evening. And hopefully I'll have this on VOD by tomorrow. So, I will see you all on a certain podcast coming up soon. That's all I can say. Alright, have a good night, guys.